MBA Show, the business podcast that takes 10 minutes to listen to, but keeps you going all day long with our daily 10-minute business lessons for the real world. I'm your host, your coach, your teacher, Omar Zenhom. I'm also the co-founder of the $100 MBA, a complete business training and community online. If you're just getting started and you want to learn how to create a business plan, we make it super simple with our one-page business plan template. You can download it for free over at 100mba.net/guides. We got a whole bunch of guides there for you to check out and to download completely for free. In today's episode, you will learn what is Bitcoin and should your business accept it. You may or may have not have heard of Bitcoin before, but Bitcoin is becoming a mainstream topic. But more and more businesses are now accepting Bitcoin. But what is it exactly? And if you accept Bitcoin, is that actually money? And can you buy things with it? Can you convert it into cash into your bank account? And are there advantages to accepting Bitcoin? Are there dangers or risks? We get into it in today's episode. Can't wait for this one. Let's get down to business. Today's episode of the $100 MBA Show is sponsored by Constant Contact. As a business owner myself, I know that email marketing is the most effective way to market online. And the statistics don't lie. 91% of U.S. adults like receiving promotional emails from companies they do business with. And 66% of consumers have made purchases as a result of an email marketing message. So get started and become an email marketing rock star with Constant Contact. They make it super easy, and you can get started for free right now. Become an email marketing rockstar today and sign up for a free trial at ConstantContact.com. Again, start your free trial at ConstantContact.com. Before I get into if you should or should not accept Bitcoin in your business or on your website, let's talk a little bit about what is Bitcoin exactly. I'm going to do my level best to explain this in simple terms. Explaining Bitcoin is a little bit like trying to explain the internet. It's such a big concept, it's kind of hard to kind of boil down to a few words. But essentially, Bitcoin is an alternative form of currency. It's a digital cash. Commonly when we think of money, we think of cash or a dollar bill. And we think this dollar bill is a note from the central bank that's backed by gold. But if you haven't gotten the memo, we've been off the gold standard since 1971. So that dollar in your pocket, it's not really worth anything other than the scarcity of that dollar. So there's a certain amount of cash in the world, and we all agree that because it's a limited quantity, that it has worth. And it's just something we all have gotten used to in our minds, whether that's cash in the bank or cash in our hand. Now, Bitcoin is a digital version of this. So with Bitcoin, there is a hard limit of 21 million Bitcoins available in the system. When Bitcoin was first introduced in 2009, it was worth 0.08 cents. So one Bitcoin was worth less than 1 cent. And in fact, the first transaction that happened with Bitcoins was that somebody was willing to buy a pizza worth $25 for 10,000 Bitcoins. So how much is one Bitcoin worth today? $230.59. So from less than a cent to $230.59 because again, it's a limited quantity. So for example, if something was for sale on an online store for $230.59, I would pay with one Bitcoin to pay for that. Now you might be asking yourself at this point, why? Why has this been invented? What's the advantage of Bitcoin? Why do people use Bitcoin? Why don't they just use regular old money? Well, the number one reason is that Bitcoin is not regulated by any government or any institution really. It's a peer-to-peer system, and everything is done anonymously. Nothing can be tracked. In addition, international payments are easier and cheaper with Bitcoin. And small businesses like using Bitcoin because there's no credit card fees. And maybe this is not relevant to you, but it might be relevant to your customers. There are a lot of countries around the world where there's a lot of regulations and there's a lot of red tape in order to open up a bank account. So many of the people in these countries will open up a Bitcoin account instead of a bank account because one, they can't, and two, they don't want to hold all the cash in their house. I'm not saying many of these people are millionaires stuffing cash in their mattress, but it's an alternative system to the existing banking solution. So Bitcoin started to catch on since 2009. They had their ups and downs, but it's definitely found its place in the economy. Now, I want to talk about, are there other businesses accepting Bitcoin? Who are these businesses? Are they well known? Are they mainstream? But before I get into that, if you want to learn more about Bitcoin and what it's all about, I might not be doing it 100% justice because I'm not 100% an expert. I just know the basics. There's a great documentary on this topic. It's called The Rise and Rise of Bitcoin. If you have a Netflix account, you could check it out over there. So are there major businesses accepting Bitcoin? Definitely. Big companies like Overstock, WordPress, Amazon, Target, CVS, Subway, Zappos, Reddit, Tesla, the car company, cheapair.com, Expedia, and even payment processors like Braintree, PayPal, and Stripe. So why are these companies accepting Bitcoin? Whether you choose to accept Bitcoin or not, just keep in mind that you can exchange Bitcoins for dollars. A lot of these payment processors I just mentioned, like Braintree, PayPal, Stripe, they do that for you. So there's a few reasons why you would want to accept Bitcoin. Number one, you want to have a wider appeal. Bitcoin might be hot in your audience. The customers you serve, they might be in countries where Bitcoin is really taking off. Quickly, here are the top 10 countries that accept Bitcoin. And when I say top, I mean the ratio between Bitcoin merchants to the number of people that are in that country. The number one country is the Isle of Man. Yes, they have 84,000 people in their country, but they kind of snuck into number one because of that. Number two is Slovenia. They have 2 million people, so that's pretty big. Number 3, Canada, and they have 35 million people. 4 is the Netherlands. Number 5 is Singapore. 6 is Australia. 7 is Finland. 8 is the United Kingdom. 9 is the United States. And 10 is Italy. Also take a look at the cities inside those countries. I know in California, San Francisco has become a pioneer when it comes to Bitcoin. And when I was in San Francisco recently, almost every shop I went into was accepting Bitcoin, Starbucks, all the other small convenience stores. So take a look at your audience and see if you can serve them by giving them that option. Number 2, you may want to accept Bitcoin because it serves your brand. If your brand is all about being cutting edge, about being alternative, about going against the grain, then Bitcoin may be able to serve you. Your brand is aligned with why people use Bitcoin. Nicole and I are even considering accepting Bitcoin for the $100 MBA solely for that reason. A third reason why you may want to accept Bitcoin is that it's a great experience. It's a great experiment. And it's a great piece of material you can blog about. Give some stats. Let your audience know how many people actually buy with Bitcoin. You could blog about how it is to maybe live off Bitcoins for a week. It's just interesting. You may want to go into it just for that reason. Guys, I got more on today's lesson. I want to touch on why you may not want to accept Bitcoin. But before that, I got to give love to today's sponsor, Edible Arrangements. As a $100 MBA listener, I know that you're driven, you're ambitious, and you've established yourself professionally. But now you're looking for more. Take the next steps in your entrepreneurial journey with Edible Arrangements. Yes, Edible Arrangements, the brand that revolutionized gifting with handcrafted fruit arrangements and gourmet chocolate fruit, is one of the best franchises to be a part of. Discover why Entrepreneur Magazine named Edible Arrangements a top franchise among their best of the best for 2015. As an Edible Arrangements franchisee, you get access to an established brand with 16 years of growth, over 80% brand recognition, and 1,200 locations worldwide. You'll benefit from the know-how, support, and millions of visitors to Edible Arrangements' e-commerce platform. Start your journey to sweet success as an Edible Arrangements franchise owner. Call 1-888-727-4258 or go to edible.com. Again, that's 1-888-727-4258 or edible.com. There are a couple scenarios where I would not recommend you use Bitcoin. Number one, you don't have the time to fully understand what Bitcoin is and how it works. I don't expect you to fully understand it after today's episode. I just wanted to give you an idea and why people use it. But it's going to take some research to fully understand it. And I don't want you to get into something or use something that you don't fully understand. So if you feel like launching your new product or your new business is going to be delayed by this, don't do it. Just launch and accept credit cards as normal. And then later on, you can accept Bitcoin if you like. Number 2, you think your audience would not resonate with Bitcoin. You have to know your audience. I remember when I explained what Bitcoin was to my mother, she thought it was interesting. But I asked her, would you ever buy Bitcoin or would you ever use Bitcoin? And she said straight up no. So if your audience members are like my mother, then you may not want to offer it. And it might confuse them, or they might feel like, what is this Bitcoin? Is this some sort of shady business? The point here is that you want to make sure your audience has an understanding of, or at least heard Bitcoin before you start serving them with it. It's just something to consider. I'm not saying everybody's going to think it's shady. I mean, I just listed off a whole bunch of huge companies online that accept Bitcoin, and they're not worried about it. But if you have a very niche business where the majority of your audience members will not want to use Bitcoin, then you may not want to do it. And as I always say, nothing is for sure until you test it out. If you're debating whether you should use Bitcoin or not, put it up on your site. See if your payment processor accepts it, make it part of your offering or a way to check out, and see if there are people that use it. You really don't have much to lose unless your audience is starkly against it. All right, guys, that wraps up today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you benefited from it. I really enjoyed teaching this lesson because it's a little bit different. It's exploring a new world that many of us don't know about. I've discovered Bitcoin recently over the last few months, and I just wanted to share what I've learned. Guys, don't miss tomorrow's episode, which is Free Ride Friday, where we talk about how important is being known in business. Is being famous, is being well known that important, or can you strive and do well without that? Plus, it's Free Ride Friday, where we give away a free ride, a free lifetime membership to the $100 MBA Training and Community. Every week, we do a weekly random draw with everybody who's left us an iTunes rating and review. So make sure you leave us an iTunes rating and review so you can win. All right, guys, I want to leave you with this. As you can see, Bitcoin did not exist before, and now it does. 2009, it was launched, and now it's a part of our economy. Business is always changing. Options are always changing. And just because something's new, it doesn't mean it's not going to be sustainable. Many things will fall off the wayside, but some things will hang on and have longevity. So don't always hate on a new idea. Don't always say, oh, that has no future. Be open-minded. Keep your options open. Be open to new opportunities. All right, guys, I hope that helps and hope to see you in tomorrow's episode. I'll see you then. Take care.